very warm welcome to our special show, Operation Bachpan. This is a part of our Justice for Every Child campaign, through which Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation is providing much needed legal and mental health support to child victims of sexual abuse and their quest for justice. Today we're here to focus on the issue which seldom grabs headlines: India's missing children. The latest Crime in India report released by the NCRB, the National Crime Records Bureau, says over 59,000 children went missing in 2020 alone, which essentially means that over one child goes missing every 10 minutes in the country. The cumulative tally of children who still remain untraced in India till 2020 stands at around 1,08,234. Data shows that since 2016, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, West Bengal and Delhi have continuously reported the highest number of missing children. In Bihar, however, every year the number of children rescued are less than the number of children who go missing in the state. The ground reality is very similar in Tamil Nadu as well, going by the data since 2018. Now, they are our children, they are your children, but sadly they end up becoming mere statistics. In a first-of-its-kind incident, on the 17th of January 2013, the Supreme Court gave a landmark directive based on a writ petition that was filed by the Satyarthi movement's Bachpan Bachao Andolan. The court directed that in case a complaint with regard to any missing children is made with the police station, the same should be converted to an FIR and appropriate steps should be taken to see that there is a follow-up investigation that is taken up immediately. With the pandemic putting children at risk more than ever before and trafficking seeing this exponential rise, there are big questions now on whether we can actually afford to let our children down. And can we really afford to look the other way? Your support for the Justice for Every Child campaign will go a long way in helping children overcome the trauma of abuse and exploitation. Here's a report.
It's been over 7 long months since they last saw their 5-year-old daughter Khushi, the joy of their lives. Playing in a Saraswati Puja pandal in front of a house, little Khushi suddenly went missing. The accused, who allegedly kidnapped her, has been arrested, but there is no word on Khushi yet.
हमने जिस दिन मेरी बच्ची गायब हुई उस दिन हमने थाना पर भी गया, उसकी शिकायत की। ठीक है सर, तो फिर हम लोग सुबह में गए, सुबह में गए तो उसके बाद शाम में उसने शिकायत दर्ज किया, लेकिन आज तक भी मेरी बच्ची नहीं मिली। हम लोग पूरा थाना से लेकर पूरा हम लोग एक मुख्यमंत्री तक ही इसका शिकायत कर चुका, लेकिन आज तक भी मेरी बच्ची नहीं मिली।
Khushi's parents are not alone. There are hundreds and thousands of other distraught parents like them who are undergoing the same harrowing ordeal every single day. As per the latest National Crime Records Bureau data, 59,262 children went missing in 2020, which means over 4,938 children went missing every month in 2020. 1,08,234 children remain untraced as on date.
अभी कोविड-19 के दौर में जो मिसिंग चिल्ड्रन की संख्या अभी जो एनसीआरबी का डाटा आया है उसके हिसाब से देखें तो 59,000 से ज़्यादा 59,262 बच्चे आज भी मिसिंग हो रहे हैं। तो ये नंबर बताता है कि बच्चे मिसिंग हो रहे हैं, किडनैपिंग हो रही है, ट्रैफिकिंग हो रही है। ये सारी चीज़ें बढ़ी है कोविड-19 के दौर में, और इसका सबसे बढ़िया उदाहरण है कि हमारे सहयोगी संगठन बचपन बचाओ आंदोलन ने कोविड-19 के दौर में 15 महीने में करीब 10,000 से ज़्यादा बच्चों को मुक्त कराया है।
From providing platforms to parents through demonstrations at the heart of the national capital to draw the government's attention to releasing the watershed Missing Children of India report, the Satyarthi movement's Bachpan Bachao Andolan, or BBA, has been at the forefront of bringing about policy-level changes and spearheading system interventions to help reunite missing children with their parents. Incidentally, BBA's legal intervention paved the way for a landmark Supreme Court judgment in 2013 which made registration of an FIR mandatory in all cases of missing children.
Missing children per se was not an offence that time, so because of this small lacuna in the legislature, the cases were not being registered. So we took up this whole concept of missing children and we went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court bench took it very seriously, and they created a special bench which heard the matter every week. And after that it gave a direction that with the presumption of crime, there will be registration of a case if a child goes missing within 24 hours.
The Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation recently launched Operation Khoj in collaboration with Khunti District Administration in Jharkhand to spread awareness on child trafficking, child labour and child sexual abuse with the objective of collecting information and identifying missing children in the district.
And joining us on the broadcast are Khushi's parents. It's been 7 months since they last saw their 5-year-old daughter Khushi. The accused who allegedly kidnapped her has been arrested, but there is no word on Khushi just yet. I want to first talk to Khushi's parents. We'll also be joined by Nishu's parents. But I want to first talk to Khushi's parents. 7 महीने हो गए हैं. जो accused है, जो मुजरिम है, वो पकड़ा जा चुका है. बट खुशी के बारे में अभी भी कोई जानकारी नहीं मिल पाई है. प्रशासन का क्या कहना है इस मामले में?
16 फरवरी के दिन माँ सरस्वती पूजा के दिन अमन कुमार ने मेरी बच्ची को अपहरण करवा दिया. हम लोग तो साग सब्जी बेचने वाला आदमी है. हम लोग तो दुकान पर थे. पूजा का समय था तो उस दिन सबको घरे कुछ स्पेशल चीज़ बनती है. हम लोग को धूरा घर दम सामने ही है सर. बगल में पंडाल लगा हुआ था, 2 तरफ पंडाल लगा हुआ था. बिना पूछे हुए किसी गार्जियन के द्वारा वो अमन कुमार ले गया घुमाने. अब घुमा के ले गया, कहाँ ले गया, नहीं ले गया, किसको दिखाया, नहीं दिखाया. उसके बाद हम लोग खोजबीन किए. उसके बाद हम लोग ब्रह्मपुरा थाना गए 10 बजे रात के कि सर हमारे पास ऐसे घटना है. तब भी वो कहें कि ठीक है सवेरे मिल जाएगा. उसके बाद हम लोग भी बेचैन हुए. तो उसके बाद 12 बजे रात में भी गए तो बोला कि जाओ सवेरे मिल जाएगा. फिर हम लोग सुबेर में गए तो सुबेर में बैठा के रखा. उसके बाद शाम में प्रशासन अति हुआ, FIR लिखा. तो हम लोग को पता नहीं था कि वो लड़का ले गया था. तो हम लोग भी, लेकिन बिहान हो के हम लोग को मालूम चलता कि ये लड़का ले गया. तो उसको पकड़ा गया तो पूछा गया कि तुम क्यों मेरी बच्ची को ले गए, या बच्ची कहाँ है. तो वो कहा कि बच्ची को हम ले गए थे लेकिन यहाँ ला के रख दिए. यही बात है. वो अमन जब तक उसको प्रशासन नहीं अति करेगा जब तक मेरी बच्ची नहीं मिलेगी. वो आज से 7 महीना से जेल में है, लेकिन प्रशासन कैसे एक्टिव नहीं है. प्रशासन के चलते मेरी बच्ची नहीं मिल रही, न उसको न मार न कुछ, कोई ऐसा चीज़ उससे नहीं मिला. उसका मामा भी है एक कि 10 साल पर रुपया छाप रहा था तो जेल से हाल फिलहाल निकल के आया था. मेरी बच्ची गायब होने के 5-6 दिन बाद वो निकल के आया. उसके घर से भी बराबर धमकी आती है, बहुत सारा धमकी आती है, लेकिन प्रशासन को कहने के बावजूद भी कोई नहीं पूछे. अब हम लोग क्या करें, आप लोग बताइए. अब हम लोग लास्ट में क्या, हम लोग बड़े से बड़े अधिकारी तक जाके गुहार लगा के थक चुके हैं. अब हम लोग क्या करेंगे. हम लोग 17 तारीख को आत्महत्या करने जा रहे थे, लेकिन हम लोग को अरेस्टिंग कर लिया गया. लेकिन उसके बाद हम लोग को रात में छोड़ दिया गया. अब हम लोग क्या करेंगे. प्रशासन को हम लोग सभी जगह भेज के हम लोग अपने 3 छोटे मासूम बच्चे के साथ हम लोग अब जा रहे हैं सुसाइड कर रहे हैं. मेरी बच्ची अगर 1 महीना में अगर नहीं मिली तो हम जा रहे हैं अपने सुसाइड करने के लिए.
नहीं, आप प्लीज़ हिम्मत रखिए. और ये बहुत मुश्किल समय है आपके लिए, बहुत मुश्किल है ये सवाल पूछना भी आपसे इस वक्त. बट मैं ये भी जानना चाहूँगी कि थाने आप गए, वहाँ पे जो थाने प्रभारी होते हैं, जो दूसरे विभागों में आप गए, उनसे क्या आपको कोई मदद मिली?
कुछ नहीं मदद. वो प्रशासन मिल चुकी है. वहाँ तक SSP साहब बोले कि तुम कहीं भी चले जाओ. SSP साहब महोदय बोले तुम राष्ट्रपति के यहाँ जाओ या प्रधानमंत्री या मुख्यमंत्री के, हमसे जवाब खोजेगा, हम कुछ भी लिख पढ़ के दे देंगे. हम क्या आप लोग से कहें, बहुत ही हम लोग अति से जी रहे हैं। अब हम लोग को चारा नहीं है, अब हम लोग सुसाइड करने जा रहे हैं। अब हम
नहीं, आप हिम्मत रखिए, आपके दूसरे बच्चे भी हैं, वो भी आप पे निर्भर हैं, आपकी तरफ देखेंगे। जब आप कैलाश सत्यार्थी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के संपर्क में पहली बार आए, बचपन बचाओ आंदोलन ने आपकी क्या मदद की? इस केस में कुछ बदलाव आया है?
जी सर, वो बदलाव तो हम लोग को उतना नॉलेज नहीं है, लेकिन सर लोग हैं, सर लोग काम कर रहे हैं। सर लोग जहाँ तक ही है कि सर लोग काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अब काम करते करते सर जब मेरी बच्ची नहीं रहेगी तो हम लोग रह के क्या करेंगे। अब हम लोग चाह रहे हैं कि इस कांड के लिए एक विशेष टीम लगा जाए। अब बच्ची मेरी जल्द से जल्द रिकवरी हो जाएगी, क्योंकि लिए मेरी प्रशासन वहाँ से दम मदद नहीं कर रही है। इसलिए मैं चाह रहा हूँ आप लोग से कि मेरी एक टीम लगा के मेरी बच्ची को बरामद किया जाए और दूध का दूध पानी का पानी किया जाए।
नहीं, हम आपकी आवाज़ पहुंचाना चाहते हैं इस कार्यक्रम के द्वारा भी। आपकी बात लाखों दर्शकों और अधिकारियों तक हम आपकी जो स्टोरी है वो पहुंचाना चाहते हैं। आप इस वक्त क्या कहना चाहेंगे, दर्शकों को क्या कहना चाहेंगे, जो लोग ये प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं, आप उनको क्या अपील करना चाहेंगे?
सर, हम कहना चाह रहे हैं कि मेरी बच्ची को जल्द से जल्द बरामद किया जाए, नहीं तो हम लोग मजबूर होकर सुसाइड करने हम लोग जा रहे हैं। अब हम लोग सब पर लक्षा गया, अब हम लोग को कौन अति से रहेंगे, हम लोग बता दीजिए आप लोग। अब हम लोग सब पर आ रहा है, हम लोग कैसे रहेंगे, आप लोग बताइए कि कैसे
नहीं, आप प्लीज़ हिम्मत मत हारिए। और आई रियली होप दैट by virtue of this message, this campaign, there is justice for Khushi and her parents are united with her soon. हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. I'd just like to also remind our viewers that this is a year-long campaign, and for details on how you can actually participate in this campaign, you can log on to ndtv.com/justice for every child. You can also scan the QR code on our screens to know more about the campaign and make donations, which will go a long way in helping people like Khushi's parents. We're also joined by Nishu's parents. They are also with us. In January this year, they lost their 7-year-old daughter from a park, and an FIR was registered in the Model Town police station, but there's been no success in this particular case just yet. The child is missing, and they're running pillar to post for help. हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। ये बहुत मुश्किल समय है आपके लिए भी। मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ कि आप सामने आए और अपनी बात रख रहे हैं। ये कब की घटना है और आपको कब पता चला कि आपकी बच्ची खो गई है?
वो जिस संडे दिन था ना, तो उन्हें खेलने गया था पार्क से, तो उन्हें मम्मी बोला कि मम्मी पानी पी के आ रही हूँ, तो हमने जा पी के आ जाइयो। तो उन्हें पानी पी के नहीं आए, लौटे ही नहीं उन्हें। तो उन्हें नहीं लौटा, तब मैंने 6 बजे बोला कोई उठा के उसको ले गया था। मैंने ढूंढने लग गया मैंने। तो मैं 3 दिन के बाद में कंप्लेंट लिखाने गई, हमने मिल जाएगा। तो मैं 3 दिन के बाद में कंप्लेंट लिखाने गए थे। तो फिर गए थे, तो वहाँ पर रिपोर्ट लिखाने के बाद बोला पुलिस वाला के संगीता मैं पेपर में दे दूँगी, अखबार में दे दूँगी, टीवी में छपवा दूँगी, इससे मिल जाएगा आपको 1900। तो मैंने ठीक है। तो फिर एक दिन मेरे पुलिस वाला दोनों आया, 2 आदमी से, तेरा बात करा कि संगीता मिला, हम बोले नहीं मिला जी। तक बाद नहीं कुछ करा उन्होंने।
कैलाश सत्यार्थी संस्था से आप कैसे संपर्क में आए? आप क्या अपील क्या करना चाहेंगे?
हमारे वो भैया है ना, वो उन्हें खाना मेरा फ्रेंड के खाना बनाते थे उन्हें, वो मेरा फ्रेंड मैंने बताया था कि भैया ऐसे करता है, तो उन्हें मेरे को बताया था, तो जवान करवाया था उन्हें।
आपको स्थानीय अधिकारियों से, पुलिस से कोई मदद मिली क्या? आपने अपनी तरफ से कुछ कोशिश की?
खोजने की बहुत कोशिश की है, पर के मिला नहीं। मंदिर में भी गए तो बाबा बोला कि कोरिया पुल के पास में जाओ, पुरानी दिल्ली, वहाँ गए तो वहाँ भी नहीं मिला। फिर जाके बोला पंजाबी बाग जाओ, तो पंजाबी बाग भी नहीं मिला। फिर पुलिस वाले के पास में दोबारा फिर पहुँचे तो वो कह रहा है कि मैंने कि नेट में दूंगा, सुबह घबराओ मत, नेट में दूंगा, पेपर में दूंगा, अशोक विहार में, पर कि कुछ नहीं किए सर वो माल्टी जी ने, आईओ थी थाना की।
आप कुछ अपील करना चाहेंगे दर्शकों को, अधिकारियों को जो ये प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं, इस कार्यक्रम के द्वारा कुछ अपील करना चाहेंगे?
मैं लोगों को यही हर प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि मेरे बच्चे अपना मिल जाए, तो आप लोगों से निवेदन है जो हमारे हेल्प करें, मेहनत करें, खोज दे, ढूंढ दे।
हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपने बहुत हिम्मत रखी और हम प्रार्थना करेंगे कि आपको निशु मिल जाए, ये कैंपेन आपकी सक्सेसफुल रहे। आई वांट टू जस्ट apprise our viewers at the moment of the Crime in India report and what does the latest NCRB data actually says. Let's put a spotlight on 2020. 59,262 children went missing in 2020. Nearly 4,937 children went missing every month and nearly 165 children went missing every single day. The number of untraced children as of 2020 is 1,08,234. 1,08,234. Madhya Pradesh has the highest number of missing children since 2017. Madhya Pradesh is closely followed by West Bengal and Bihar. So this is just to put in perspective for our viewers, what the statistics really look like as far as missing children in India is concerned. This is the latest NCRB data with a specific spotlight on 2020. Well, we're now being joined by Bhuvan. He's a noted child activist and lawyer. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Explain to our viewers, how deep is the issue of missing children and why is it so very important for us to focus on it, for us to discuss it?
Children going missing is anybody's nightmare. So it is not even a question for me why it is important to discuss it. Because if we were to consider the children who go missing in India as our own children, if one of our children was to go missing for even a few minutes, we would simply lose all sense of our sanity. But the number of children going missing, that was going into hundreds of thousands a few years ago, and the number of children that continue to be trafficked for various kinds of exploitation, the number of girls that are being sexually abused after going missing is a nightmare. And those numbers are not just numbers on a piece of paper, they are the real children, they are our children. And therefore it is extremely important for us to discuss and to understand.
Well, absolutely. Do stay on with us. We're going to slip into a very short break. But once again, I'd just like to remind our viewers, for details on how to participate, you can log on to ndtv.com/justiceforeverychild. You can scan the QR code on your screen to know more about the campaign and make donations. Short break. We'll bring you more on the other side. निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, हम निकल पड़े, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, हम निकल पड़े. Welcome back. You're watching our special campaign, Justice for Every Child. We're in conversation with Bhuvan Ribu, a noted child rights activist and a lawyer. Thank you very much for being with us. How do you think the issue of missing children is connected with trafficking and child sexual abuse?
In the official statistics, the number of missing children in 2020 is about 60,000. But as per the guideline laid down by the Supreme Court of India, where a child's whereabouts are not known to the parents, guardians or any other person interested in knowing such whereabouts, where the law enforcement agencies are not aware of such whereabouts, then the child would be considered to be missing. And this definition, if it was to be enforced properly, would mean that majority of child laborers, majority of trafficked children would fall within the category of missing children. And then the number is huge, and that is why it is extremely important for all of us to be looking at the issue from the lens that these are our children, looking at the numbers not as merely numbers but as human lives. And as we must be thinking, one child who has gone missing is one child too many. And with that perspective, the country must look at the protection of children from all kinds of exploitation. Especially if we were to see the horrors that we have witnessed after Nithari, where the children had been murdered, and at that time nobody was paying any attention to the news when children were going missing. The FIRs were not being registered, the children were not even being searched properly, and the children had been murdered. Every day when children are being sold into prostitution or other forms of sexual exploitation, every day when children are being sold into forced labor, slavery, child labor or other inhuman practices, or every day when children are being put out on the streets to beg, a child would not go missing in thin air. If I was to drop my wallet or my phone, it would simply not disappear into thin air. Till such time that somebody else is going to pick up that wallet or phone, put it in his own pocket or use that phone for his own purposes, that even an object is going to continue remaining in the world, wherever I would have dropped it. If a child is not in the legal custody of the parents, then the child has been taken away for a purpose, and that purpose more often than not is exploitation. There are very few instances where children sometimes run away from home as well. But even when they are running away from home, it is the responsibility of the larger society to report wherever the child is reaching, report such an instance to the police, and try to reunite that child with the parents. So a child who goes missing is invariably going to be exploited, is vulnerable to exploitation, or it has gone missing only because of an exploitative scenario. For example, in the case of girls, they are enticed for marriage, for the lure of a better job. For boys as well, sometimes they are enticed for such lures, and they are all being put into exploitative situations.
How has the legal intervention on missing children brought about a paradigm shift when it comes to protection of children?
In 2003, the National Human Rights Commission did a research that found out that about 45,000 children were going missing in India each year, and about 3,000 FIRs for kidnapping and related offences was being registered for the recovery of such children. In 2006, when Bachpan Andolan led the initiative for the parents of the children who had gone missing in Nithari, the entire perspective was around trafficking. And when the horrors of Nithari came out, it was shocking to everybody. BBA undertook a research study over 3 years and collected information from the police station level across 392 districts, and found out that in 2010, the number of missing children was approximately 100,000 and the number of FIRs registered was about 8,000. So you see, between 2003 and 2010, the number of missing children had increased from 45,000 to 100,000. FIRs had increased from 3,000 to about 8,000. In 2000, and based on this data, that out of 100,000 children that were going missing, only about 8,000 cases were being registered, and nobody was looking for the rest of the children. Bachpan Bachao Andolan approached the Supreme Court of India. In 2013, a landmark judgment came from the Supreme Court of India, where for the first time the issue of missing children was looked at holistically from the perspective of organized crime and trafficking, and the definition of missing children for the first time anywhere in the world was laid down. And thereafter, data began to be collected in 2013 at an all India country level. For the first time, we realized that the number of children who had gone missing in 2013 actually increased to 160,000 in 2013. But the Supreme Court also directed a mandatory registration of FIR whenever a child was missing, and laid down that if a crime against a child happens, then FIR must be registered. And even if there is a presumption of a crime against a child, even then the court and the police should raise a presumption that a crime has happened and should proceed with the investigation and the registration of FIRs. Emboldened by this, the police started registering FIRs. And in 2014, to monitor this, the Supreme Court also set up a social justice bench, which started looking at this issue on a periodical basis, calling for the states for their data and their information, trying to see how many FIRs had been registered, how many people have been arrested, how many children have been recovered. And then the whole issue started swinging in favor of children. In one way, a person can argue that the number of registered cases was increasing. The number of kidnapping and abduction in India was increasing. But in reality, the numbers had already been there. We were just not registering the case. The fact that the police understood that the investigation must follow, the fact that a lot of people who were kidnapping these children started getting arrested, the fact that the number of FIRs increased from about 8,000 in 2010 to about 54,000 in 2020 has also resulted that in these 10 years, while the number of missing children was steadily increasing, in the first 15 years of this century, in 2003, it was 45,000. In 2010, it became 100,000. In 2013, 160,000. In 2020, the number of missing children is only 59,000. The trend has been reversed, and the number of kidnapping and abduction cases is about 54,000. So the legal deterrent, the proper implementation of law, and effective action by the police for the recovery of children has resulted in a lot of children being found, being recovered, a lot of traffickers being arrested, and the number of missing children actually decreasing as per official estimates and figures.
All right, well, that's indeed heartening information that you've shared. But, you know, an allied question, a change in the legal position, of course, has gone a long way. But how do you think technology can be used to solve the issue of missing children, and what's really the way forward?
There is no bigger helplessness or hopelessness than what is felt by a parent whose child has gone missing, even if it is for a few hours. And the poor parents whose children continue to remain missing over months and years are now finding this entire system wherein a lot of children are being reunited. It augurs well for the protection of children. We've also been able to incorporate the use of technology. A couple of years ago, the Ministry of Women and Child Development undertook this a pilot program for the identification of children who had gone missing, and using their photographs with the database of children that were housed in child care institutions. And the use of this facial recognition software actually resulted in matches that were over 11,000. So on one side, when a child was going missing, that photograph was being put in a centralized database for everybody in the country to start looking for that child. And on the other, if the child was to be recovered and placed in any kind of children's home anywhere in India, the photograph would be matched by this software, and the child could be reunited back with the parents. And all these advancements are helping children who are vulnerable to being trafficked or who have been trafficked and have gone missing.
Well, thanks very much for joining us and explaining all of those things so very clearly. With that, we're going to slip into a very short break. There's a lot more lined up on the program on the other side. Stay with us.
निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, हम निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े
Welcome back to our special campaign, Justice for Every Child. We're now being joined by Dr. P.M. Nair. He's a national expert in human trafficking and former DG NDRF. Dr. Nair has handled several crimes, including Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, international arms drop at Purulia, the Sanjay Ghosh abduction, etc. Dr. Nair has also served the National Human Rights Commission as its nodal officer, anti-human trafficking. He's been a project coordinator at the Anti-Human Trafficking Center with the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime in New Delhi. And he's also carried out training of more than 11,000 police officials and prosecutors across India and set up 9 anti-human trafficking units. Thank you very much for being with us on the show. I want to begin by asking you about, Bachpan Bachao Andolan had released a very detailed report on missing children. Can you throw some light on the key findings of this report?
It's a national study undertaken by the BBA, and I was privileged to be associated with that. RTI notice was sent to all the superintendent of police in the country, and data was collected, which showed that almost 110,000 children are reported missing, of which 41,000 children remain untraced. Now, when you compare this with another study which I was privileged to do for the National Human Rights Commission in 2004, that time it was 44,000 children remaining untraced, of which 11,000 are not traced at all. 44,000 reported, 11,000 untraced. In 2012, it became 110,000 reported and 41,000 remaining untraced. The number of untraced to the reported had gone very high. The number of reported missing also went very high. From 44,000 went to 110,000, and the percentage also increased. So that report was an eye-opener in the entire system of law enforcement. The matter went to Supreme Court in a public interest litigation by BBA themselves, and the Supreme Court passed orders that every child missing, if not traced in 3 months' time, shall be deemed to be trafficked, and law enforcement should be done. A crime shall be registered and investigation has to be done. And now it's happening across the country. Though there are many things to be done, but the process has commenced now.
And from your experience of having served in the police for so long, do you think there is any use of the facial recognition technology? Has it helped in combating the issue of child trafficking? Has it helped in dealing with these cases?
Well, the technology is a need of the hour. The old-time law enforcement systems cannot function today. Therefore, every useful technology, FRS is one. There are many more technologies available today in the system, in the country, across the world. Those things have to be brought in. For example, the identification of the victim becomes difficult after a few years. A child trafficked at the age of 12, a boy trafficked at the age of 12 for bonded labor or water exploitation, and rescued at 18, the 12-year-old child and 18-year-old child will be completely different, especially because the child is in a difficult situation. So the profile changes, the mind changes, therefore the look of the child also changes. Now the traffickers also are very careful. They put the child's name change. If it is Vinod Pandey, they would have made him as Abdul Kafoor. No, like they change name, community, caste, everything, etc. So to camouflage the thing. Therefore, the old-time system of doing to the hard copy and by memory, that won't work. Therefore, these technologies have a tremendous use and utility in the given system.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking with NDTV. I think those are very important points that you've made. We're going to slip into a very short break on the show, but we want to remind our viewers that this is a year-long campaign and you can continue to donate and support the cause by going on to ndtv.com/justice for every child. Stay with us.
निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, हम निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, निकल पड़े हैं, हम निकल पड़े।
Welcome back to our special campaign, Justice for Every Child. We're now being joined by a very special guest, Senior Advocate H.S. Fulka. He is a Senior Advocate of the Delhi High Court, a politician and a human rights activist, as well as an author. Mr. Fulka's association with the Satyarthi Foundation began around 3 decades ago, and he started handling important petitions in the Supreme Court as well as the Delhi High Court, coordinating with lawyers and deciding legal course of action on different issues pertaining to child trafficking. And Kailash Satyarthi's organization, Bachpan Bachao Andolan. Thanks very much, Mr. Fulka, for being with us. You had personally taken up this missing children matter in the Supreme Court. Can you take us through what is the judiciary's perspective on this issue?
Before the Supreme Court, this fight started from the Delhi High Court in 2008. In 2008, there was a news item that very large number of children has gone missing from Delhi. So in 2009, the first judgment of Delhi High Court came. This was the first time that a court had directed that the FIR should be registered. Earlier, there was a circular of Home Ministry that the FIR should be registered after 15 days. So police interpreted it that they did not to register FIR for 15 days. Now, when the Delhi High Court, I filed my report before Delhi High Court, when I gave 50 cases where the children of very, very poor families, some rickshaw puller, somebody who's a daily wager painter, like this, their children have gone missing, and every day they go to the police station. For 3 months have gone by, police have not registered FIR. When one of the drivers of a lawyer in the High Court, his only son was missing for 2 months, and the lawyer told me that he has come during 2 months. He has come for job only for 2 days. He keeps on going around and looking for a child. That is the state of affairs, and the police is not registering FIR. So when I brought it to the notice of Justice A.P. Shah in the High Court, so Justice A.P. Shah passed this direction for the first time in 2009 that within 24 hours the FIR police has to register FIR, and then they will report to DLSA, that's the Legal Aid Substance Authority, and the Legal Aid will appoint a lawyer to assist the parent of the missing child. And so this direction came in 2009. Thereafter, the BBA filed the petition in the Supreme Court. This petition came up before Justice Kabir in 2013. Justice Kabir again gave the same directions that the case should be registered. All the states were summoned in that case. There was strong objection from the states and from the central government also, that most of the time the children are here and there and they come back after 2 days, 3 days. So under Justice Kabir, when I took the argument, there is a presumption of kidnapping because it's a minor child. So on the basis of the presumption, Justice Kabir said, yes, there is a presumption of kidnapping and you have to register FIR. He said, after that you will have to cancel the FIR and it is only few papers you will have to waste. That doesn't mean that you do not even register at all. So thereafter the directions were given to throughout India that the case should be registered. Because the point is that when police come into action only when the FIR is registered. First 24 hours or 48 hours is very, very material. When the child is around and if the police do not take any action during that time, so after that it becomes in 15-20 days, it becomes very difficult to trace because the trafficker take him away, they take him to a faraway places where it becomes very, very difficult then to trace the child. This is what was happening.
Right, but it's very interesting because after the court order, missing children complaints started getting registered. My question therefore to you now is the present legal mandate enough to address the issue of missing children?
At present, the directions which are given by the court, if those directions are implemented, it will go a long way. Now the progress is made in Delhi. If that is applied now by all other states also, they also implement the directions of the Supreme Court, and subsequent after the Supreme Court, whatever orders are passed by Delhi High Court. Now Bachpan Bachao Andolan is trying to get similar orders passed by other high courts also. And if the other states realize it, that why they need the orders from their high courts. The state government on their own should act. If these efforts are made, the present system is put in place and is implemented fully, that will go a long way in solving this problem. When framing a new law, and that is later. First implement what we have. And if after that the problem still remains, then there is a question, what more do we need, what more law we need. But now at present the state of affairs is that most of the states in India have not implemented the judgment of the Supreme Court, have not implemented the directions as yet. Barring Delhi, no other state has appointed the paralegal volunteers. Now, this is the state of affairs.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. H.S. Fulka, for sparing your time and being with us. It's been indeed an eye-opening conversation. Once again, I'd just like to remind our viewers that this is a year-long campaign, and for details on how you can participate, you can log on to ndtv.com, Justice for Every Child. You can also scan the QR code on the screen to know more about the campaign and make donations. Finally, we'd like to just leave you with the campaign anthem, Nikhil Pade Hain. This has been written by Kailash Satyarthi himself, and it's been co-composed and arranged by the rock band Indian Ocean. We leave you with this.
मोम की गुड़िया बना के हमसे खेल रहे थे, वो तो कल था। जानवरों से कम कीमत पर बेच रहे थे, वो तो कल था। मोम की गुड़िया बना के हमसे खेल रहे थे, वो तो कल था। जानवरों से कम कीमत पर बेच रहे थे, वो तो कल था। अब तुम हमको छू न सकोगे, खोटी नजरों वालों सुन लो। आग का दरिया बनकर अब हम निकल पड़े हैं, आग का दरिया बनकर अब हम निकल पड़े हैं। जिनको अपने बेटे प्यारे, बेटी प्यारी,
को अपने भाई प्यारे, बहनें प्यारी।
साथ में आओ, हाथ मिलाओ, कदम बढ़ाओ।